I wonder if he's spending his Saturday mornings with Scooby-Doo. Here's your look at the brand new NECA Toony Terrors Vincent Price. Bring the fun of Saturday morning cartoons to your horror collection with the adorable little creeps of Toony Terror, NECA's line of stylized horror icons. Standing approximately 6 inches tall, this Vincent Price figure joins the Toony Terror's line. The figure comes in a blister card packaging with bonus cutout backdrop. Now, I'm not going to criticize the way you keep your 13 ghosts, but I'm just saying, having a Great Dane near your chest of demons, it's a bad idea. Before, of course, we get a closer look at Vincent Price, the tape measure is telling us that he stands at 5.5 inches in height, or he's 14 centimeters tall. The thing that's interesting about Vincent Price is while we usually have the discussion of Toony Terrors saying that they look like characters that could appear in an episode of Scooby-Doo, both Vincent Price and Elvira are the only two characters from Toony Terrors that could actually say that they appeared in Scooby-Doo medium. Elvira would have appeared in a Scooby-Doo movie, while Vincent Price would have lent his likeness and his voice to the character Vincent Van Ghoul in the short-lived Saturday Scooby-Doo series, The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Although he didn't actually look like this. To show you, though, what he does look like with the remaining Toony Terrors we've already had a look at, here's what the character looks like with Megan. And on to the other side, here's what the character looks like with the Misfits Fiend. And just watch for your brain, Vincent, here in the background is what the character looks like with the Return of the Living Dead, Tarman. Boy, do I hope we get a Flim Flam figure at some point. Said no one ever. The accessories that come included with Vincent Price. First, the character comes included with a black cat. Now, I don't know if they just chose a black cat because the whole idea of a black cat crossing your paths is bad luck, or if Vincent Price did actually own a black cat. With the ears low like this and partially squinting eyes, doesn't it kind of look like the black cat that makes the rounds on Instagram? Somebody uses the image of the cat squinting and then down below puts some witty comment, like the face the husband gives his wife when the wife says, "Are you going to take out the trash?" And he realizes that she's already made several rounds in the kitchen to grab her snacks. That cat's made some big buck. My cat was doing this years ago. I didn't even realize you could make some money from that. The cat has no articulation whatsoever, so it's just more something that's maybe displayed again along with Vincent Price. The character, though, can be displayed at least with the next accessories that he comes included with. He has, as of right now, a hand that's holding a cigarette. It's strange to see that a character get released by NECA actually does have a cigarette, but Vincent Price was known for smoking quite a lot on set. The character, though, if you weren't so crazy about the idea of him smoking, he does also come included with a skull and a hand for holding the skull. The skull first is painted nicely, very bright white. I don't have any real paint problems. I have a little bit of like marred plastic at the bottom of his jaw. I don't know who this jaw actually belonged to. Other than that, though, like, it does look really good. And again, if you wanted to have it displayed with Vincent Price as opposed to the smoke, the hand itself does, as you can see, have a smoke on the end of it, a little cigarette. It looks like there's a couple ashes on the end of it as well. It's not lit, so at least, they're not advocating for smoking. Vincent Price just happens to, in this case, he's just carrying around a smoke. It's not even really a showpiece either. It's like one of those Popeye cigarettes. You ever had Popeye cigarettes as a kid? They still sell them, but they don't sell them, surprisingly, with a little red on the end of it. Now they're just sticks. That's not good for anybody. What you can do, though, is you can just detach the hand like this, and then you just replace it with this hand. It's strange because it looks like he's carrying around an invisible tray, or it also looks like he's wanting a little bit of a handout, like a change or spare change. But if you wanted to, you could have yourself the skull. You just place it inside the hand like this. And Vincent Price, I think, is just doing a little bit more than just having him with a cigarette. I mean, if you like this cigarette, all the power to you. But I think just the skull, just because he's like one of the masters of horror, it just makes more sense, I feel, to have the figure displayed with the skull. I like that you at least get options. Let's go ahead and remove that for right now. I know it's going to look a little out of place, the fact he's not actually holding anything. But the figure does have limited articulation. You could almost bring the hand closer to his body if you don't pop the hand off in the process. Let's get the hand back in there. Just plugs in place. Yeah, I thought, for example, you could maybe have it closer to his waist. But like, it doesn't turn nearly enough. And even the times you try to turn it, you might just end up doing what I just ended up doing, just popping the hand off completely from his sleeve. So you could kind of do it like this. It just looks a little bit more awkward. Unfortunately, it's one of those Toony Terrors that he's pre-posed in the sense that, sure, yes, he has the articulation in his shoulders. But I mean, really, what are you going to be able to do with it? It looks like he's carrying around an invisible tray, and it looks like he's actually like saluting, I don't know, something off to the side here. Just looks a little out of place. Obviously, you're only going to want to have it the one way. Head sculpt-wise, it looks certainly like Vincent Price if you were going to make him more to a cartoon. I like the little thin mustache that they've painted on his face. Very thin, also very exaggerated eyebrows as well. And they've matched the colors very nicely to the two-tone grays that he has in his hair. Very nicely painted. I would love to see this guy get released, and it's very unlikely that they've even acquired the Scooby-Doo licensing, but to actually get a Vincent Van Gogh with the popped collar, with the cape, or even the little crystal ball with the green version of him, make that happen if you can, NECA Toys. But like for the rest of his outfit, he has the gray jacket, the gray pants. They painted those nicely matching colors. And of course, he does have a little bit of sleeve that sticks out the end of his main jacket portion, of course. He's also got a little handkerchief, nicely painted in shirt. He's also got himself the little scarf piece tucked in there in red. I will say, like, the red does bring in a little bit of nice color, because just, if not for that, the colors of him are pretty gray. I mean, gray for the suit, gray for the pants, gray obviously in his hair as well. I think the red brings a little bit more extra colors to the palette. Now, again, for his articulation, he's very limited, but, you know, despite the fact that he has very close quarters feet, and he's very broad in the shoulders, Vincent Price actually is one of the easiest figures to stand from the Toony Terrors. Even if you did want to go the crazy route of actually displaying the figure with exaggerated arms like this, as silly as that may look, the figure doesn't have any issues whatsoever to stand. In fact, for the figure's articulation, Vincent Price's head is on a ball joint. It does look down pretty good as well as up. Rotating it all the way around is where you're going to notice there's a lot of restrictions, a lot of hang up. You're not going to be able to turn it all the way around. But for looking down, looking up, and even twisting it off to the side, you can easily pull that off. Shoulders also do rotate all the way around, but again, because they're pre-posed the way that they are, it looks the most obviously realistic and natural just to have the arms kind of parallel to the rest of his body. This arm, again, rotates all the way around, but really, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? Hands rotate also all the way around, whether you decide you want to use this hand or you want to beeline it back to the one that has the smoke. They rotate the exact same way. And then this hand also does rotate back and forth, but there's no articulation here for the waist, and there's certainly no articulation. Not that I shouldn't say certainly, assuming that you guys already know this, but there's no articulation at all for the ankles. What he does have, at least on the bottoms of his ankles, is peg holes on the undersides of his heels. Though the figure does have the means to be displayed with a display stand, like I said, he really doesn't necessarily need a display stand. He's one of the easiest figures to be standing from the new Toony Terrors. Speaking of those Toony Terrors, by the way, not to get too close to Squinting Eye Black Cat, again, here's what he looks like with Megan, here's what he looks like with the Return of the Living Dead Tarman, and here's what the figure looks like with the Fiend. Nice bunch of characters. I'm glad that we did finally get ourselves a Vincent Price, a long overdue character, and again, ironically enough, both him and Elvira did appear actually in an episode, or something related to Scooby-Doo at least, even though again, he didn't look like this in the Scooby-Doo 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo Saturday series. The fact that we do finally get ourselves a Vincent Price, I might just end up displaying this guy with some of my Scooby-Doo figures. So we did start the review of Vincent Price with him actually holding the smoke in between his fingers. Decided to swap things out and change it to my more preferred look of the figure and having him carrying around the skull. Granted, the skull is the only thing that's an imperfection of the figure. Everything else has been nicely painted. I just have that little bit of plastic marring on the side of his jaw. I don't know, I can't speak for whether that's going to be across the board if everybody's going to have that similar problem. If you have, though, picked up the Toony Terrors Vincent Price, please and thank you. Let me know if your skull has a similar problem. For the size of what it is and the fact it's an accessory, who really cares? It's nicely painted, as well as the tiny little cat that comes included with him. That little Instagram black squinting cat, boy, that thing's adorable. It's all I can think of now when I'm looking at it. It doesn't have any posability, and it doesn't really need to have posability either. Vincent Price has the accessories that he should have, and he's nicely painted from head to toe. I do like that they've added the little red collar piece. Adding that scarf, having it in red. You think of Vincent Price, you think of blood. You think of blood, you think of red. You think of red, you think of scarves for jackets. At least I think of red scarves. And I'm glad to see the figure had a little bit of color that's breaking up the otherwise all gray and white treatment that he has for him. He's limited in articulation, but he's not as limited, for example, as the Fiend. The Fiend had only, just head and a wrist. The Tarman had 5 points of articulation, the head, the shoulders, and the wrists. So, Vincent Price is in line with, the Tarman. Maybe not as articulated as the Megan, but that's okay. Again, with these Toony Terrors, you kind of go in there knowing exactly what kind of levels of posability that these guys possess, with only just, again, having, the head, the shoulders, and the wrist, 5 points of articulation. I don't think you really needed anything more than that. And the figure actually stands fine. It's not one of those cases where if you're moving the arms out, for example, Tarman kind of had a bit of an issue with that, where if you're moving his arm too far up, then it sort of does throw off his balance a little bit. Doesn't seem to affect at all Vincent Price. As a side note, though, I do hope we get a Vincent Price as Vincent Van Ghoul. I don't know what NECA Toys has for the extent of their Scooby-Doo licensing. The fact that we have nothing Scooby-Doo related makes me think that they don't have a license at all for it. Just, though, a Vincent Van Ghoul. Forget about Flim Flam. We don't need a Flim Flam figure. What do you guys, though, think of Vincent Price? Let me know down below in the comments section. And let me just throw this out to you, the viewing audience. If you guys haven't been collecting any of these Toony Terrors, based at least on the 4 figures we've looked at from the current wave, which character could you guys see yourselves picking up? Let me know down below in the comments section. In the meantime, though, these characters are all available in store or online. If you don't have as much luck in store and you have better luck online like I do, well, obviously that's the outlet that you're going to have to go. It may mean, though, like myself, my own circumstances of picking up these figures, you pay a little bit more for them, but at least you can actually find them. Because, again, checking in local stores, squat, nothing. I'd be making the same squinting face as that black cat from Instagram every single time I go into a comic book store and they're just stocking old NECA things. I'm just like squinting at them, thinking, oh, I wonder if they're thinking I'm looking like the black cat. They're probably just thinking I'm a complete jerk and hope that I leave the store. But it's definitely going to be a lot more NECA reviews coming your way, guys. In the meantime, if you guys did enjoy this video, I want to throw it a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you certainly do want to stick around for more, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and you're turning on the bell notification. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.